So this is part 2 of my top manufacturers of 2017 UCI World Tour. So in this part I'm going to look at the offerings from the top manufacturers, and if you saw part 1 you'll have seen how I got to the top manufacturers. I basically totted up all the race winners from 2017, added them all up, and Specialized came out on top. So there's basically 3 different categories that the pros can choose from really: aero bikes, lightweight all-round racing bikes, and their time trial bike. So I thought first of all we'd look at aero bikes. These tend to be the bikes the guys will use on the flat stages or the flatter stages, with a few exceptions which we'll come to as we get to them. But the first thing I did was I looked at the bikes in Google Trends, just out of interest really, to see which ones are most popular and which ones get talked about the most. And the other thing that pops up from that is you can see kind of when the bikes were introduced as well. So you can see that the F10, which is the yellow, the Pinarello F10, which is basically the Pinarello DOGMA F10, didn't turn up until much later than the other bikes. But there was an F8, so that's just the F10. The other thing that you notice here is that we get these peaks. That tends to be in July when the Tour de France is on. There's obviously a lot more interest in bikes around those times. But we can see here that the Venge and the Foil, so Specialized Venge and Scott Foil, pretty much look like they were the first real options as an aero bike, according to this. And then Giant have introduced the Propel, and Canyon the Aero Road. Canyon don't distribute worldwide, so their numbers will be a bit skewed really. Anyway, that's just a quick look at the trends there. So obviously Specialized won, so we're going to have them up first. And their offering is the Specialized Venge. Oh my god, what a gorgeous bike, is all I can say about that. This is the top of the range Vias Disc Di2. Got a proper price as well, £9,000, but it's got all the good stuff. Dura Ace, I think that's a Carbon S-Works crank. It's got the discs. The only thing I'm not a major fan of is the stem, which I think looks a bit weird, but maybe it looks better in the flesh. You can also get the E-Tap version, slightly cheaper, and on this one it's obviously SRAM's E-Tap, which I think is the one I would go for if ever I had that kind of money. I love E-Tap, it's just so cool. Okay, is there a rim brake version? Not really. As far as I can see from the UK website, there's the Elite. I know the American website, there isn't even one on the UK website, but that looks like last year's frame. So no, not really a rim brake one. So next up, BMC. Now, on their website, they've got this thing in their sort of aero category. Yeah, I'm not sure it's for real, really. It's a bit of a dodgy looking bike, and I'm not sure I've ever seen the pros riding that one. However, what I think they probably do ride is the Team Machine, which is a whole different proposition and looks pretty aero to me. There's no cables going on there. It's got decent wheels on it. It's got the Dura Race on it. I think that's a pretty splendid looking bike, that. 10 grand. Would I buy that over the Venge? Difficult one. This one's more all-round, I guess. Can you get a rim brake version? Yes, you can. Cockpit is different. You got all the cables sticking out there. So I'd definitely go disc, I think. Okay, that's BMC. So next we got Pinarello, and in the Pinarello camp we have the DOGMA F10. Now this one is an exception to the rule. As we all know, Chris Froome won the Tour de France on it and the Vuelta España. He may have been riding the F10X, which is the ultra light one, but it's basically the same bike. So we'll look at this one, and 9,250 quid, so it's in the same sort of range. I think it's a pretty cool looking bike, kind of groovy. I think that's an aero bar there. Nice paint scheme. Dura Ace Di2. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd buy that myself because it's a little bit fancy dancy, but if you like that sort of thing, I'm sure that's pretty cool. So this is the rim brake version. Is there a disc brake version? Yes. Again, I think that looks pretty cool actually. Like that little fin on the fork there. Di2 again. Yeah, I like the paint work on that. I think that's a pretty cool bike. Couldn't find a price for that one though. So that's the Pinarello, and next up came Scott. And in the Scott camp, we've got this. It's the Scott Foil Premium Disc Bike, and this is a pretty groovy bike. It's very expensive though, £10,100, but it's pretty light, 7.25 kilograms. It's got all the same stuff as the others, Di2 discs. However, we've got the zip wheels on there. What are those? 303s? Yes. So they're the 303s, which are pretty cool. Aero bar. See a few cables there. That's point off now these days because lots of them don't show cables now. They've also got a little fin on the forks. That's pretty cool. I like that. And a through axle, obviously, because it's disc. That should be the same at the back, I think. I ride mountain bikes and I like the through axles, they're cool. Make it slightly longer to get the wheels on and off, but hey ho. Is there a rim brake version? Yes there is. However, it's pretty light, 6.8 kilograms, but does this count as an aero bike? It's kind of not really got the wheels for it. It's also mechanical. And the other weird thing is when you look between the disc and the rim brake one, what's going on here? I looked at the measurements on the Scott website and it says that they're the same round here, unless I was reading them wrong. So I don't understand what that big jump is there. I don't really know what's going on there, whether it's a different size frame, but basically I line up the front wheels, so if that was a different frame you would see the wheelbase change a lot more. So I find that kind of weird. However, this is a pretty cool bike, and in 2016, it might have changed a little bit, but in 2016, Matt Hayman won pretty much my favourite race on it, the Paris-Roubaix, and well, he obviously enjoyed winning, and that makes me laugh every time I see that, but that was his bike there. He's got the Dura-Race wheels on that one. Pretty cool. Okay, so next up, Canyon. And what have Canyon got for us? Well, as usual, Canyon lifting the bar, and we've got a pretty stunning weight here of 6.7 kilograms, a pretty stunning price, if you can afford these kind of prices, and a pretty stunning bike, really. We've got the aero bars, you can still see a few cables there. We've obviously got the Dura-Race Di2, but the showstopper on this one is we've got the Zip 454 NSW carbon clincher disc wheels, and they cost pretty much $3,500. So to get them on a bike like this, that's pretty cool. And they've got the sort of wavy pattern on them, which is supposed to be more aerodynamic. Is there a disc version of this? Yes, there is a disc version, a bit cheaper because it hasn't got those wheels on it. It's got the 404 wheels on it without the wavy pattern. A little bit heavier, but hey, still a very cool bike with E-tap on it. E-tap's so cool, isn't it? Although that's a lot of money to have dangling in the mud all day if you're out on a ride and it starts raining, but there we go. So that's the Canyon offering. Next up, Giant in 6th place. Right then, it's the Propel, a bike that I've absolutely loved over the years, but the big butt on this one, well, there's two big butts for me. There's the stem butt, looks like it's butt, just kind of weird, and then the paintwork. I don't know what Giant are thinking there, but it looks like something, it looks like a crazy designer went crazy with it. Maybe it'll grow on me, I don't know. Anyway, you're looking at $9,000 for this version. Di2 comes with the Giant aero wheels, slightly shallower at the front, deeper at the back, which is a pretty cool setup in the wind because it means the front wheel doesn't get affected as much, but you get the aerodynamic benefits at the back. I've done a video on this one that you could find on my channel. So that's probably enough about that one. Is there a rim brake version? Not really, not unless you buy what basically looks like a repainted last year's model. So if you really want rim brake, you can if you want. Don't get the new frame. So that's Giant, and then we have in 7th place Ridley, and their offering is the Ridley Noah. That's their aero bike, and I think I'm right in saying Andre Greipel rides this when he attempts to win sprint stages. This is probably my least favourite looking of all the bikes we've looked at today. Ridley don't seem to be helping themselves with their photography. It all looks a bit soft, and I don't know, it just isn't punching out at me. I think they could have made that look better. So you've got pretty shallow wheels on it. I can't find a price, I can't find a weight. I'm not sure they sell many of these in the UK. What I do like is I like the rotor crankset and chain rings, and it's obviously Di2. Yeah, it's got discs on it. And is there a rim brake version? Yes, there is. I think actually it looks better, doesn't it? It's got an aero bar on it. Don't really like the wheels though. I'm not a big fan of, they look like sort of cheap aluminium fulcrums to me. Again, I can't find a price. And what I did find a bit weird, perhaps one of you guys will know, is the rotor crank arm changes between the two very, very slightly. Don't know what that's all about. But there we go. Right, so those are the bikes in the aero category. I think this one's my favourite. I love the paint job on this. It's gorgeous. What I'd like is that, but the E-tap gearing on it, but not as keen on that paintwork. I'd like to see the handlebar set up in real life. They did have big gull wings on at one point a few years ago, and they looked a bit weird. I can't tell if that's the same. So there we go. Part 3 is coming up, and in part 3 I'll look at the lightweight offerings from the manufacturers, and then in part 4 I'll be looking at the time trial bikes. So if you like my videos, give them a thumbs up and subscribe.